What's something that's considered normal that creeps you out immediately? The constant fake happiness at work. Popsicle sticks. That fucking texture on my tongue. Fucking aw. This weird ass anti-fetish shakes me to my fucking core. Prolonged eye contact. And by prolonged, I mean more than 10 seconds. The whole, we're all family here, at the workplace. It's like some weird brainwashing to get you to enjoy your job more than you should. Like, no, you're not my family. I'm here to do work and get paid. And that's the only reason I'm here. Influencers' toxic positivity on Instagram. Dress-coding kindergarteners who looks at a 5-year-old in a tank top and thinks sexual thoughts, to the point the 5-year-old has to change? Question mark exclamation mark question mark exclamation mark. Fucking gross. Taking pics of strangers. People posting photos, videos of their infant kids all over social media. There's this sales technique called mirroring, where the salesperson mimics the body language of the customer to gain rapport. I think a lot of people also do it subconsciously to some extent. Anyway, this really creeps me out. Telling little kids, like 2 to 10, is that your little girlfriend, boyfriend? Like a hard stop. No. Creepy and disgusting. No matter the context. People who knock on my door. Child beauty pageants. It's fucking creepy. What's the biggest mistake you've watched someone make in their personal life? Must be my disabled brother who fell for an internet scam. He met a woman online. She lived in a different continent, but he was certain she was the love of his life. Spent over a year chatting and emailing her, and helping her with money from time to time. Very fishy stuff, but he refused to listen to my skepticism. It ended when he had saved up enough money to go visit her. He went, came back 2 days later and refused to ever admit what had happened. Went to his grave without ever talking about it. Second place goes to my father, who cheered him on. He wasn't sure whether it was a scam or not, but he thought it was nice that my brother had hopes and dreams. My sister lost her 3 kids due to an addiction to methamphetamine about 5 years ago. She complains non-stop about how the system stole her babies, while smoking meth to this day. My uncle got himself a mistress. Lent her $10,000. He never got back and lost his job defending her at work. Wife served him divorce papers short afterwards. He gave up his house to his wife. So he ended up jobless and homeless. Sleeping on our couch at the ripe age of 60. A buddy that lived with me for a while got a car he couldn't afford because he was obsessed with image. Stopped making payments. Tried to part out the car and report as stolen since he had the bright idea that would bring more money than just giving it back to the bank. Then got into check fraud, which landed him in jail. Been in and out of the system ever since. From stories I hear. My sister owned a home with her husband and first child. Her father-in-law convinced them that if they sold their house and became live-in caretakers for some old relative of his, that he would leave his supposedly nice house in Austin to them. They'd get to live rent-free at this house. It would be theirs outright when he dies. And they'd be set. So they sell their house, move to Austin where they don't have jobs, and move in with this guy. And it's absolute chaos. Guy is constantly watching porn on the living room TV with their toddler around. Doing inappropriate old guy stuff. Telling them what they can and cannot do in the house and when they can come and go. It's a freaking nightmare. They end up leaving the house and getting their own place. They also eventually moved to another state for a few years and came back. They've never been able to buy another house since housing prices have gone way up, and they didn't have enough equity on their other house that they sold. So they've been bouncing from shitty apartment to shitty apartment ever since. My friend chose to have a child with a man who had cheated on her multiple times while still in high school. Single mother of 3 living in poverty. Gave her parents her $6,000 tax refund to hold onto because she didn't want her abusive ex to convince her to split it with him. Parents spent it all in weeks. This girl who rented out my parents' basement was not great at making smart life choices. She married someone who is serving life in prison for murder. She met him through her cousin who was also in prison. She eventually got a huge chest tattoo of his last name, and more tattoos of his name all over her body. He ended up being transferred to the east coast of Canada. She lived in the west coast, and she up and abandoned her 2 kids to be close to her husband. One of her kids is severely handicapped, but she never gave a shit about being a parent to her. Anyways, about 3 months after moving she posts all over her socials that they broke up. And she quickly tried getting the chest tattoo covered up. 2 weeks later she announced they worked it out and they were together again. They kept doing this pattern of fight, break up, make up and repeat. Again. She had 2 daughters she up and abandoned for a man who will most likely never get out of prison. My high school philosophy teacher cheated on his wife with my classmate. His daughter was in the year below us. She transferred schools out of embarrassment when her dad finally left the family to pursue a relationship with the 18-year-old. Yuck. Have a child with someone who fights them on their parenting style. Also cheated on my friend who was 8 months pregnant. They just got married too. Dump all of their savings, $30,000 or so, into random crypto at the height of the market. They were trying to get more money to put towards a house but lost a majority of it when things crashed. When their significant other found out they left. Americans of Reddit. What is something the rest of the world needs to hear? Deleted. Animals in Yellowstone will kill you. Water should always be free at restaurants. You can ski and surf on the same day in California. I went to Italy and there was a restaurant selling American pizza, which was pizza with French fries, hot dogs and more ranch than pizza. He said it's authentic American pizza and it's how everyone eats pizza over there. I told him I'm from America and I've never once seen anyone eat that. He told me I was wrong and it's how all Americans eat pizza. Y'all are crazy too. No. In the South, we do not all have alligators in our backyards. If someone tells you otherwise, they're lying. There are no alligators in Ba Sing Se. Still, water and public bathrooms should be free around the world. The US doesn't do a lot of things right, but we generally have free water fountains and public bathrooms in most places. Our state governments hold more power over our daily lives than the federal government. The laws can vary pretty significantly across state lines aside from commonalities like no murder, robbery, reckless driving, etc. And even those sometimes can be punished very differently from state to state. It's almost like 50 similar-minded neighboring nations, and a couple territories, under one union. Deleted. Some of us do know our geography. Bison are not to be petted. Stay far away from them. When threatened, Americans will deploy a colorful neck shroud in a show of dominance and can spit venom up to 15 feet. What's normal at 3 a.m. and terrifying at 3 p.m.? Going outside and finding the streets completely empty. Dead silence. No sun. Waking up and not knowing where I am. Waffle House. An empty street. My ex calling me. Waking up still tired. Bats flying around, or honestly any nocturnal animal. The cat stretching his claws out towards my face. At 3 a.m. it's because he's yawning and he wants to knead my beard. At 3 p.m. it's because he's a little shit who wants to hook my lips so I get up and chase him. Ghosts. I think I'd be more concerned to see them during the day because I feel like they would just be in charge of my house at that point. Still being high from the edible you ate at 8 p.m. Given to you by a friend who said it wasn't that strong. And you went to work anyway. What do you count as a masterpiece? Movie, TV, book etc. Why? Tetris. Why? Because it has literally zero fat on it. You couldn't even try improve upon it. You just add more fat to it. I love a complex mind-blowing masterpiece. But nothing gets me more than a, oh my god, this is so simple, and yet incredible. Holes. It may sound silly, but literally everything ties together, no matter how small the detail. Portal 2, video game. The first was groundbreaking, but the sequel took the basic idea and just ran wild with it. The mechanics of the game complemented by the story and the writing was top-notch. Absolute masterclass in video game production. True Detective Season 1. Some of the best dialogue, interactions between the protagonists. Shot brilliantly, and it's one of the most atmospheric shows I've ever seen. I really can't say enough good things about it. The Wire. It's a show that still resonates today. Even when dealing in issues from 20 years ago. Anyone who's grown up in or around poverty can find a character to relate to. And each season is its own story. The original Matrix basically defined action and sci-fi movies for the next 10 years. And frankly still has influence. Plus it had one of the most genius marketing campaigns of all time. That could only exist pre-mainstream internet era. Basically no one knew what The Matrix was until you watched the movie. The Muppet Christmas Carol. I've seen approximately 1 bazillion versions of this story and obviously read the original. Love the concept in general, but nobody does the story justice as well as the motherfucking Muppets. Otherwise I love the Patrick Stewart version as far as recreation of the book goes. As for what makes it a masterpiece, I think there are 2 factors. 1. Being told by an in-universe narrator that is also omniscient. Fucking brilliant. Love that this part is played by Gonzo and that Rizzo is just there to riff. 2. Something about making Marley into the Marley Brothers is just weirdly good for the story. In the original it feels like there's a lot of things about Scrooge and Marley's relationship that we just are not getting due to the short length of the novel and Scrooge's POV. Like if it was longer I feel like we could get more into how much of Scrooge's story is about abuse, etc. and how Marley plays into that, but making him into 2PPL makes it clear that in this version, he's just sort of a casual friend, bully a la Mean Girls. Makes it a simpler story and I think easier to digest due to the simple nature of the narrative. Movie. My Cousin Vinny. The acting is incredible. Joe Pesci chews the scenery and Marissa Tomei steals every scene she's in. She earned that Oscar. And Rip Fred Gwynne aka Herman Munster, this was a fantastic last performance. It's legally accurate enough to be shown in law schools. There is no villain. Everyone in the movie is doing what they believe is right in the interest of serving justice. Every detail matters. Exclamation mark. How long it takes to cook grits. Comma exclamation mark. Lisa's family all being mechanics. Comma. And of course, the tire tracks. All in all, 10 out of 10. We'll watch this movie literally any time it's on TV and even sometimes when it's not. The Birdcage is a masterful comedy. Such strong performances by the entire cast. The way Nathan Lane and Robin Williams riff off each other. The stoic dry humor delivered by Gene Hackman. The blissful optimistic ignorance played by Diane Wyast. The eccentric Hank Azaria, magnificent in his line delivery and physical bits. Dan Futterman and Callista Flockhart playing the two in love, trying to keep everything calm, cool, and collected. Both give great performances as the befuddled lovers. Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry is a masterpiece of fiction. A tale of friendship, honor, adventure, and chasing the dream. Princess Mononoke makes you realize nature is alive in ways we can't even begin to comprehend. The TV series Chernobyl. So powerful and just in a realm of its own when it comes to imagery. Acting. Script. 10 out of 10. But don't think I could ever watch again.